in that Kenda Tires Noback Racing BMW E46. He's quiet, but he carries big angle. Make some noise for Nick Noback.
He's out there as well. Did not see the little brown cloud.
And we're live. Welcome in, everyone, to another episode of Behind the Camera. We had a live show here. This is episode 25, or a quarter of the way to 100.
It's not what's better than 24?
25. Let's go.
25.
Exciting day today. We got the wonderful Nick Noback, a lovely Texas boy over there.
Howdy.
And but then we also have Herbie and Brandon here. Herbie, how did the weekend go for you, bud? I'm just curious.
Oh, dude, it was good.
Was
it was a well-fought day. You know, we're battling in the middle of the pack for season points. We missed the first round because I didn't know about it.
Hell yeah.
And we've lost in the top 32 now twice, so that's what's up. But
at least you're qualifying, you know?
All that matters, we were there.
Thanks after the battle.
Yeah. So
also, what the hell's your shirt? All I see is the eyes, and I'm like sketched.
Dobby, mate.
It's Dobby.
Dobby has a sock.
Oh.
Dobby has a sock.
God.
Bad.
No,
I'm
not,
bad.
not a Harry Potter guy.
Obviously not. I'm not.
Dude, it's all right. I figured it was fitting because look at him and look at me.
It's the same thing, right?
I see it.
I see it. Oh man, it's good to see Zach, Celine. Nice to see Noback's boyfriend in the chat. It's great to see.
I'm scared.
Oh man, but no, excited to have you on, man. It's been a pleasure. Obviously, watched you for many years, coming up through the ranks in Pro-Am, and then finally, obviously, making the jump all the way up to Pro. But I kind of want to ask about, you know, Texas and kind of driving down in the southern part of the states, because I don't think we've had anyone on that's from your area so far on the show. So I want to get like a perspective of like what's it like down there in the south for drifting.
So I'm out of Atlanta. I did my Pro-Am.
No, but you drove Lone Star, right?
Yeah.
That's right. Okay, so I knew you from Lone Star. That's why I was like,
yeah.
Okay, my bad. So we've had people from Atlanta, but tell me about Texas, because I want to know more about Texas right now.
Texas is different. It's when they say everything's bigger in Texas, they're not lying. But yeah, so when I was first getting into Pro-Am, that was like right after Southeast Drift Union was there for a year, and then they just disappeared, and then there's, you know, seemingly not going to be a series in the Southeast. Yeah. So, you know, it's kind of drive to the Northeast and do like US Drift, mm-hmm. or drive out to Lone Star. And at that point I knew a few people that were competing in Lone Star from years prior. And, you know, I ended up committing to doing that. And of course, you know, within a couple weeks of the first round, East 10 announced their championship. So I tried to do both series. The first season in 2018, I was only able to make it to one of the East 10s, but you know, did a full season of Lone Star. Got my first win round 5. Finished 4th place with a blown engine round 4, or round 6.
Yeah,
and then blew it in round 7. Flying off track, but you know,
you want to just explain to the people that don't know what Lone Star Drift their series is? Kind of explain it, because like you already said, you'd 7 rounds. It's like it's a little different down there than everywhere else, I feel like.
Yeah, and especially now, because they have their shootout and stuff for FD now, but they basically their series was a 7-round series, pro-am rules and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And this was before there was like tire rules and everything. So the first season I drove, there was a gentleman's rule where everyone was running a 265 300 treadwear tire, and I ran that, and then I saw a couple of dudes that made the jump from Lone Star kind of not have the experience on a stickier tire. So then the next year I ran on a stickier tire. And Ben Hobson was also running the series at the same time, and basically because of us, when they made Lone Star its own series, they made a rule where it's like no tires bigger than 285s, and everything is 300 treadwear or higher. So and I can't blame them. Like we but also at the same time we were trying to basically prepare ourselves for the next step. So,
you're trying to go fast, is what you're saying.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta floor it.
That's right.
Yeah, obviously that series is run over there by Aaron, a guy well known in the drifting world, Aaron Losey. Very peculiar guy, though. I would say he's just different, than most.
He's got a unique way of looking at things, and a lot of times it actually makes you really think and actually wonder why you're doing stuff.
Yeah.
Seems like a very passionate guy.
Yeah.
He is, but he, like he said, he's done some very different things. I remember one of the Lone Star drift rounds I was able to go to was a drift event in the middle of it was basically an Air Force base, like slab of concrete, and
Mineral Wells.
I think it was. I think there was, but like it wasn't a drift course. It was basically like pinball. Yeah, it was like pinball, and like there was all these obstacles, and then you had to chase the guy.
Yeah, it was like a cat and mouse type event.
Yeah, I was like, that's a really interesting way to do a competition. Like I think the competition I saw was more for fun. I didn't know if they actually ran a pro-am competition like that, but it was
So 2018 we actually did run that, and Aaron even had an 18-wheeler trailer out there that we were drifting under.
Wow.
Which was kind of sketchy at first until you realized, oh, okay, I have like a foot of clearance, because it wasn't like all the way down, it was lifted up enough to where pretty much all the cars could safely go under it, but it was basically keep your run to about 45 seconds and stay within the boundaries of the course, and it was actually pretty good to keep you on your toes.
Yeah, and there was no like set line, there was no like you have to, was there a requirement that you had to hit a specific thing at any time, or was it just do what you want?
It was pretty much a free for all, like just don't get left by the lead car, and then lead car stay within the boundaries until your time is up, basically.
Yeah, but it was a really interesting way to run an event, and I was like, this is fun. This is a little different. I mean, I don't think you could do a full-fledged like pro comp in that style. I feel like you could really mess people up.
It'd probably be similar to like a drift shifters if you made it tandem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was one of many events where I unfortunately had an S54 that met its demise.
Yeah, well,
they don't like seeing 260 water temp.
Yeah.
What made you go with the S6 or the S54, like keeping it for a while instead of just going straight LS or straight JZ?
So when we first got my E36, it was a track car, and it was NASA GT3 spec or whatever, and it had already had the S54 in it. It was S54 ZF, nice LSD, caged, and the first season I drove it in like local grassroots competition, all I did was put an angle kit and a hydro in it and a bigger seat. And then we were like, okay, did pretty good at that. What's the next step? Let's go to Pro-Am. So slapped a turbo on it, and yeah, did
As you
that for a couple of years, and then
Yeah, I'm sure it was rated for that on the street, and then they're like, "Oh,
Is
you
that-
do what with this thing?"
yeah, it was like, oh yeah, S54s are good for like 700 horsepower, but yeah, that's like on a street application, not beating the hell out of it on limiter.
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
at what was it, like 16 pounds of boost?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
A little bit different of a circumstance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, when they lasted and when they were working great, they were such fun engines.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure if the right things were in place, you could theoretically make one work, but it's just the reliability and the power from your other platform, the LS, it just made a lot of sense for you.
Yeah, and the big thing was also, it was actually cheaper to end up with Hilbrun's old car than it was to build a new car for Pro 2. And we knew that it was capable. We knew it had podiumed in Pro. So it was like, okay, we'll get this, turn the power down, and run it.
Yeah, you want to quick kind of explain how that all transpired? Because it was kind of funny seeing that car back in Formula Drift. I was like, oh, I know this car. It's very
yeah, we were in the process of getting ready for Pro 2, and they'd posted the ad for the car for sale. Like, I think it was on Rick's page where I saw it. And it had a price, and the price was very high at the time. And I was like, man, if that were a lot cheaper, that would be like a killer move.
Yeah.
And then probably a month later, I saw the price was removed from it. It was just ask for price. So out of curiosity, we looked at and talked to them about it, and I don't want to disclose the actual price, but it was significantly
Damn
cheaper
good
than
deal.
building. Yeah. It was not just the car. It came with a trailer. It came with spare body panels, spare engines, spare trans, spare like full spare suspension.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
it was pretty much
package.
Yeah, it was pretty much the full program, more or less.
That's cool. And I mean, it served you well. I mean,
yeah,
you're still running the chassis, right? It's the same.
No,
or no. Okay.
So 2023 we had a new chassis.
Okay,
but
gotcha.
We've been on most of the same guts since then.
Right.
So it's still been the same.
I was like, you still got
660
that blower on there, so.
Yeah, still that. So that engine that I've been running, the one that ended up getting hurt earlier this year, that has been in that car since Alex had it.
Holy cow!
Wow.
And I did, what was it? It got looked through in 2021 before the season, and I ran it until this year, until we had some slight issues, untouched.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That's
you never tore it down or none, just
chicken down a compression test. Everything always was fine.
Hell yeah.
Just pop the oil pan off, check everything, no metal, so everything looked clean. Like,
That's
you open
cool.
it up, it still looked brand new.
Yeah. So what when you got it, how much power was it making originally?
That's a good question. I think the tune got wiped off of it when we got it.
Yeah.
But it was listed at about 1,200, and we were for Pro 2 and prospec, and then half of the first year in my first year of Pro, we were like 860.
Gotcha.
Basically put the biggest pulley on it, make the lowest amount of boost.
Yeah. That's I mean, that's solid, and obviously that's all immediate torque, and look like you put as much grip as you wanted in the car, at least in the Pro 2 prospec era. Car was definitely one of the quicker ones. out there. Which, if you want to kind of go into, like, how was your Pro 2 experience?
It was definitely interesting. Especially coming into the series during COVID.
Yep.
It was
That was your rookie year, right?
Yeah, so St. Louis was our first round. It was actually interesting. The season started with me and Mike Power battling and ended with me and Mike Power battling in Irwindale.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, we had it right off the rip. And yeah, just, I mean, it was such a learning year. Like, learning, you know,
like the
not
grip
necessarily, I don't know if
and the
it's
tires
strategy
and...
is the right word, but like,
because I'm sure
knowing how hard to push.
Well, I'm sure tire life was a real big issue with that car. No.
Yeah, learning how to manage tires was, because on my E36 I'd never worried because they always lasted more than 2 laps.
Yeah.
But on a heavier car making 250 more horsepower on the same size tires, it was a learning experience for sure. And then also adding the learning experience of having the quick change and knowing and figuring out how to gear the car, how much wheel speed to run, how much is too much wheel speed.
Yep.
And
how did you learn that? Did you just ask people, or you just
a lot of
figure
trial and error?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
years in.
And then like learning also basically on the small tires in Pro 2 and prospec, you can't really afford to do a scrub it.
Yeah.
Scrub the marbles off the fronts, and like if you've got enough power, you're gonna basically heat the tires up on the run up anyway. So
Yep.
That year of Pro 2, like the first year you did, that was the first year when they limited it to a 255, right? It was still like, it wasn't just GTs.
I think it was the
No, they limited beforehand.
Second or third year.
Yeah, but it was a tube tire, I think.
I think it was like Achilles and
Achilles and Nexen.
2018 and 2019, it was Nexen and Achilles for both of them, and then that was the first year where it was all one manufacturer, and that was the last year Achilles was in.
Yeah. Okay.
It was interesting too because they actually had run out of 255s, so in Irwindale we were actually allowed to run 265s.
Wow. Nice.
Little advantage on a big bank track.
Yeah, a little bit.
Wow.
But yeah, now it's a little bit more, because I didn't feel like that was very even when you were comparing the Nexen and the Achilles. It was kind of like I didn't think that was quite even for.
I drove on both. They were, I mean, they each had their strengths and differences. Like, I probably, between the two, I probably preferred the Nexen as a front, but then the Achilles as the rear.
Interesting.
But like, I don't know, it was interesting. Like the Nexen was like more even, like side to forward drive, all like, and then the Achilles was like way more forward drive.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting learning experience for sure.
What
now you got Kenda.
Yeah. Which they made some strides, what it sounds like this year with their tires. You want to kind of talk about like how that's been going?
They made the rain tire, right?
No, that was Kumo. But
okay.
I heard that they improved drastically from their first year in FD.
So yeah, there was a compound update, and it's a killer tire, and that's one of the things that I actually really like about Kenda is they're putting that time and effort into improving their products and letting us give them feedback and everything to develop a better product.
So like, what is like an example of like what you would tell like the tire manufacturer when you first drove on them versus now, kind of, and like what
I
did?
mean, just kind of like how the tire feels, and
Yeah.
like it was crazy in like for instance in Long Beach, I do 2 full tilt laps. I'd have 60% tread left after 2 laps.
Wow.
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 Yeah.
And it's like you don't need that really for what you're doing. So is it like, do you tell them, hey, make it stickier so we can, or like what was the kind of feedback for that?
So it was actually interesting as well because up until Long Beach this past year, I didn't get to try the new compound.
Okay.
I had only tested on the old compound, and you know, making so I had the new compound.
Yep.
I had switched to the new MCS shocks, and I had Wisefab front and rear on my car.
Yeah.
Oh wow. So
And
whole new basically feeling.
so the amount of just drivability and increase in control that whole package made was just night and day, especially in a place like Long Beach.
Yeah.
Like this past year at Long Beach was the first time where I actually felt comfortable every lap.
Wow.
Well, minus the rain. That's a different story. That
Yeah.
and it's not just because it's rain. It was rain at Long Beach is.
It was puddling up and it's greasy.
It's-
Like it was
it's all
bad.
the grease.
Yeah, 'cause half the
and
track's
oil
on a
coming
parking
up.
You're
lot.
basically drifting
Yeah.
through oil puddles, not water.
Yeah,
Mhm.
literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the amount, because there's so much rubber laid down, like it's an ice rink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also because of that round, I learned a lot more. Like I had a pretty good idea on like how to change rain setup, but because the conditions were going back and forth so frequently, like it rained in top 32, then it didn't for half of top 16, then it started raining again, then it stopped, then it started again. And so I didn't want to make too many drastic changes, but hindsight now, I would have made some significant changes setup wise.
Yeah. Well, it's like when you're working with a tire company that, is willing to listen to your guys' feedback and stuff, kind of like what do they kind of tell you? Like they're like, okay, so like this is what we could do to possibly fix that problem, or like do they like go to a lab and they're like, hey, this is a stickier compound, or this compound will last longer, like kind of like what do they tell you?
Sort of like, hey, this is the direction that we've been thinking of going, basically, what's your feedback on how it's been feeling, and are there certain areas where you think we can improve, or certain different things? And I mean, I was incredibly impressed with the Kenda, like the longevity, the grit, like it was just, it's crazy how good that tire is.
Yeah.
Like I think it's the best, like unbiased, but I think it's the best tire in the series right now.
Hey,
and it's a 305 for this season, right?
Yeah. So last year in Seattle, we made the switch from a 295/40 to a 305/35.
Big difference?
Not as big as you would think.
Yeah.
The 305 has more overall balance, if that makes sense. Like you gain a little bit more side bite. A very similar forward drive though.
Interesting. So
but the biggest thing was just the like tire height difference. So it's like 26, basically 26 and a half inches versus 27.
Okay.
And for a tire height.
Yeah. Big boy tires. It didn't sound like you could take full advantage of them though, with your current power levels. You kind of want to tell me what happened this year for your program, because it was going swell and then it wasn't as swell.
Yeah, so beginning of the season was going great, car was feeling great, and then Fortunately, after Orlando, as I was actually going to pick the car up from Long Beach, for Jersey, my crew chief, was started up and was starting to warm it up and noticed a sound coming from the engine. It was like a squeak, not a knock, luckily, but it's basically like I showed up and he was like, "Hey, we need to swap in your backup engine." And so, we swapped the backup engine. The backup engine was it was the one that came with the Hilbrun parts and everything.
Yep.
And we pretty much knew nothing about it, other than it's basically similar displacement and has the same blower and clutch setup on it.
Yeah.
It's the same block. Like the cam and internals are completely different heads.
Yeah.
And we swapped it in. We spent an all-nighter getting it going. And then we ended up pulling the main engine apart after Jersey, and it ended up having a sticking lifter. So the lifter bushing for cylinder 1 intake had gotten some sort of metal between the actual lifter and the bushing material, caused it to stick. That damaged the cam, and then that caused more material to go through and damage the pistons.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Damn.
So that's been a process to get that rebuilt. But then in Jersey, on that engine, we had a dry sump pump failure.
That's sketchy.
Yeah, I was so it was the day of competition. I was in drift and outside 2, coming across inside clip 1, and I see low oil pressure. Immediately shut the car down, let it coast as far as they can, and it turned out the pump had seized. So we spent a bunch of time, pulling the pump off, draining all the oil and everything. And Loselli was kind enough to let us borrow a pump. Got it swapped on, and then due to some other circumstances, basically had to call our 5-minute before our battle, and didn't make it. We missed out by 1 second.
Yeah.
And
why did, because you said, you were telling me earlier, the car was ready to go, but it didn't start. Do you know why it didn't start?
I think it was just the starter took a crap at the same time.
So you had to push start it.
Drifting. Drifting, usually it's you're like, oh yeah, it's only this, and then something else happens too.
Yeah. You got the car started, but it was like...
Yeah, the team busted their ass and did everything they could, and it was just unfortunate circumstances that we weren't able to make it to the line. Like, we got it push started, and as we were pushing it forward, the clock beeped, and as soon as it was beeping, then the car fired up.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
Evan should have let you gone, dude.
Especially like you said, the circumstances afterwards too. It was like,
at this point,
there was a delay of game as soon as that had happened.
And then there were some other 5-minute calls compounded before ours. So it's easy to say, oh, if those 5-minute calls weren't there, we would have made it. But who knows what would have actually happened.
Right. Yeah.
But
and also tough,
it turns out that engine at the same boost level, at the same boost level that the main engine would make about 1,100 horsepower, the backup engine was making less than 800.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I ran Jersey and St. Louis with less than 800 horsepower.
Yeah.
And then we got the smallest pulley that Whipple makes to try and make all the boost. Got the car dynoed. It made it still only made like 890
Yeah.
at like 20 pounds of boost.
I was gonna say, yeah, cranking.
And ran it at that for the rest of the year, and I'm sure in Utah it was making closer to 8 again.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just trying to find the balance of everything when you basically you set the car up to work at these power levels, and then you take away a third of that power.
Right.
Yeah.
It's tough. And then you get some new tires from Kenda and you're like, great, I'm still trying to make your old ones work,
Yeah, it's like damn, more grip.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. But yeah, for this season it's looking like we'll be back up and back to 100%. So
you still going to be on the good old Kenda tires next season, or can you not say? Or
I can't confirm anything, but the official announcement should be in the next couple of weeks.
That's
cool
for the team, for Kenda.
Yeah. No, like you said, it's cool to work with a company that's trying to get better in the sport. Because I'll admit, their first year in FD, I don't think was the greatest for a tire company when they first jumped in. At least from what I was hearing from drivers, but I heard there was a huge jump forward for this year.
Yeah.
And it's been cool to see another tire start to become competitive, and because that's what FD needs. They need more. The reality is there's just not enough tires to go around for drivers, it seems like, and it's like
especially this year.
Yeah, with 2 companies leaving the series.
Yeah, it's definitely tough out there, and I'm hearing rumors that there could be another one, so I'm curious to see if that becomes a thing. But in terms of obviously next year's program, well, let's go back to here real quick. You ran your program by yourself last year, but 2 years ago you were going through Jerry Yang, correct?
Yeah.
So kind of talk to me the compare contrast of the differences in when you ran your own program last year versus when you were running with Jerry Yang 2 years ago. Just kind of curious on how did that work out, and then why did you make the switch to go back to doing your own program?
The biggest thing for the switch was just cost.
Yeah.
But with them it took a lot of the stress and worries off of my shoulders.
Yeah.
Which was nice. But yeah, that's the biggest thing was just cost.
Yeah. So what was a service that Jerry Yang offers? What was it? What did he do for you? Kind of just take me through. Yeah.
That year it was maintenance of the car between rounds, building the car and transporting and providing crew and stuff.
Yeah, so the full service. That's cool.
Yeah.
Kind of like what he offers with I'm sure Kazuya, and what was working with Kazuya and those guys, and being on that kind of team and working.
Kazuya is great. I'm actually kind of bummed that he's stepping away from FD, but I talked to him at Irwindale about it, and with everything that he's got going on, it makes sense for what he wants to do.
Yeah.
And he's got a following as well, so
right.
he can still go to these events and still have sponsors and make cool content and everything.
100%.
But it was interesting because there's not a lot that translates between an FRS with a VR and an E46 with an LS.
No, it's true. You guys don't really, I'm sure, didn't share anything, but it
was nice being able to share like track info and track data.
Yeah.
So like during qualifying, for instance, one of us would go out and we'd be like, okay, and St. Louis, it had rained and then was starting to dry up, but one of the turns was wet, and he was just it was okay, hey, the track is dry everywhere besides this turn, and
Gotcha. Yeah,
stuff like that. Just the stuff that could translate was shared, but you can't really. I mean, they're just such completely different cars. You can't even
not taking his car setup and putting it on.
Yeah, like you can't. Like, even wheel speed would be different.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like he drives different than you too. Like you guys have a different driving style, and he has a very Japanese style, and you're cold-blooded American,
Yeah, man. You just gotta go out there and you just floor it, man.
I mean, they both be throwing it backwards on some of them turns, so.
Mm-hmm. You ended up getting you won 2 years in Irwindale, right? Was it 2 years ago?
So I won pro there in 2023.
That's right.
And then I got second there in 2020 in Pro 2 and third there in 2021.
Yeah, so you've had a ton of success at Irwindale. You kind of sad to see it go?
Oh yeah. That was easily my favorite track.
What about Irwindale kind of like worked for you, I guess you could say?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is, starting drifting out here up at Lanier, which is basically a 3/8 mile oval. It's banked and asphalt and everything. I've just always been comfortable on banks, and so it's very similar to that, but just bigger. So you can just go faster and
use all of that power, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Just give it the beans and hold on.
Right.
like 2023. Up until that point when I would watch my driving back at Irwindale, I'd notice, I'd always miss that first beginning part of outside 2. And I'm like, I really need to get out there better and, commit harder to that. And so 2023, after almost every lead lap I'd do, I'd come on the radio and be like, yep, I puckered a little bit going in outside 2. But I mean, that's just how you have to drive that track.
Yeah.
And
definitely,
I mean,
right on the puckering edge.
Yeah.
And you won in a pro round. Like how crazy was that? Like doing that.
That was pretty cool. It was like, I don't know, everything lined up, and the biggest thing is just getting into that mental state where you're not really thinking, you're just in the zone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that whole round, I was in the zone, and like sometimes I'd catch myself, like when I was lining up to the battle with Turk, I was like, I'm already on the box, and I was just like, no, don't get ahead of yourself. Like we still got a job to do. There's still 2 battles.
Yep.
Worry about that stuff later.
Yep.
So
that's cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
What's your most memorable moment that you think
that
you have?
That would probably have to be it. Like,
yeah.
And then winning that one for my buddy Keith, who had passed that year, that was definitely the highlight of my career so far.
Nice.
Yeah, that's cool. Because Irwindale, so like there are certain tracks in Formula Drift that I feel like we see some different drivers do well at, just because usually like the bigger tracks, for example, Irwindale, Seattle, I feel like it's a lot of the same people that do well there because their cars are faster or more well set up than most other people's. So it was cool to see, like someone like newer, go and do well at Irwindale, because it's like for example, New Jersey, I feel like it's always interesting because you have no idea who's going to win Jersey, because it's always like different people, because it's all about driving there. It's not necessarily about who's got the fastest car. And so it was really cool to just see. I mean, obviously Jeff Jones recently podiumed there, which was really cool. So it's like I'm gonna miss. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna miss Irwindale. Irwindale is one of those tracks where you have this grandiose, huge stands, um, under the lights. Like, you guys are going in so fast.
It was basically the mecca of American drifting. Like, that's where all the big events started.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like Vaughn won the D1 versus the Japan versus USA event there, and you know, so many big names have won there, and you know, every championship for FD has been clinched there for the most part. So,
yep.
like, it's the amount of history at that place is just huge.
That's cool.
Yeah, and drag racing too, drifting, all the things. NASCAR.
It was the only drag strip in Southern California, I guess. I guess in Southern California.
Yeah,
drag strip.
That was still open anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, it was still open. So hopefully no street racing.
Yeah, all right,
fucking
dude.
dumb.
No.
I was gonna say it's happening right now, but maybe give it like 2 more hours. It's still a little light out for him over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. But so obviously that was one hell of an event for you. But like you said, going into this year, you were feeling great. Had the power issue for the rest of the rounds, but where are you at for this year? Like, kind of how are you feeling for this season coming up? Like, how's the program looking?
It's good. Basically lots of the same. Like, I feel like our team was dialed last year. You know, everyone knew what they were doing, did everything super well, and you know, everyone gelled super well. So I'm excited for that. And then on the car side of things, it's pretty much just get that main engine back and just make some small refinements here and there, and you know, just add some small things and make it easier to diagnose issues. And
100%. That's awesome.
I feel like we've got a winning package, and you know,
I still think it's crazy that a car that was built so long ago is still such a. Oh no, it's not Hilbrand's car.
It's a new chassis.
That's right. I keep forgetting. I see the blower and I think Hilbrand's car.
The drivetrain is basically the same.
Yeah.
As it was before, but
what happened to Hilbrand's car? Is it kind of?
I still have the chassis. It's sitting in storage right now. It's kind of my my oh shit chassis.
Yeah, the just in case.
It's the I hope I never need it. But there if I do.
Yeah. I mean, and you've had some run-ins with the walls in the past couple of years. I remember 2 years ago, I think it was it Orlando? You had some fun times.
Yeah, got the wall in Orlando with Kazuya, and then what else? I had an incident with Vaughn in Utah, where
that's right.
Basically destroyed the whole passenger front.
Lovely.
This past year during the sight lap, mostly in Long Beach, I threw it in very cautiously.
Yeah.
And it just looped. Like, it was like it got to a certain point and you're just along for the ride.
Yeah.
And so I floored it to keep it out of the wall, and then the front got into the slick stuff and it whipped around.
And now you're driving into the wall.
To the concrete wall. And then earlier I think it was on Friday during practice, I got the wall at outside 2 a little bit, and it was basically lift and go straight into the tires, or stay in it for a second and then rip the handbrake and go soft sideways into the tires. So that didn't help, but I don't think anything really broke on that hit. And then
One of the things Andy told me was one of the big differences between pro and prospec was you guys get hit a lot more. It's a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Pro is definitely a contact sport. As much as I don't want it to be, like the amount of tire marks that you end up with by the end of the season if you're not replacing vinyl every round.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I remember looking over in Jersey at Connor's E36.
Oh my
And I was
god.
just like, oh man, that poor car.
Yeah.
Like it had tire marks up and down both
Look,
sides all the way. Like the side skirts were barely hanging on.
he just loves NASCAR that much, dude. He was trying to replicate the tire mark.
And the crazy thing is, apparently they were swapping vinyl and replacing the vinyl on a regular basis. Like that's
Yeah.
just how hard he goes all the time.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. I mean, it was fun to watch, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like, that's with you too, dude. I mean, you pretty much kiss the rear end of the car on every wall that you can have the opportunity on, so.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
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 That driver's side taillight lasted technically both taillights lasted the full season.
Yeah,
Really?
you were hitting it like perfectly parallel, like the middle of the car, always kissing like that zone, just dragging it along. I feel like you have a good cushion point on the rear end of your car.
Yeah, I try to have some give on it, like especially with them wanting us to be on the walls and everything. Like you can't have too big of a bash bar. Like obviously you want something strong enough to where if you do get in a little deeper than you want to, it's going to protect everything. But you don't want something that's so rigid that as soon as you touch it, it's going to pull you in.
Yeah. Oh,
Right.
bend and snap.
Yeah. So from what I'm hearing, it sounds like you're a big sim guy, and it sounds like, I mean, obviously I have the big sim guys underneath me here, but what got you into the whole sim thing in the first place?
So I'd always been a big gamer, and was into Forza and stuff, and would always play on a controller and talk to friends, and they were starting to get into steering wheel setups, and I'd also crashed my first E36 like an idiot, as you do when you're 17.
Yep, absolutely.
And I was like, okay, I need to actually learn how to drive.
Yeah.
So, I ended up getting a sim setup this was either late 2012 or early 2013.
So you're one of the early adopters,
Yeah.
Forza,
I mean, I started
whatever.
Yeah, I started on Forza 4 with
Yeah.
the force feedback wheel and everything, and then
That's where I
What was
began.
your setup on Forza 4?
I don't remember what the Fanatic wheel was called.
The CSR?
I had the CSR Elite.
The one that had the Forza logo on it.
Yeah.
Yep,
And
yep,
then
Did you have one too, Brandon?
I did, and I was 8.
All right.
I did the old
Okay.
old sequential shifter handbrake mod.
Yeah.
Which,
Okay.
is funny because that video was made by my good friend John Landy and 8-Bit Brian. And yeah, now pretty much every time I go to California, I crash at Landy's house on the way, which is crazy how things come full circle like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did the handbrake mod and everything, and did that until 2015 when I finally got a PC and got into Assetto. And this is also like shortly after the Xbox Ones came out.
Yeah.
So the Xbox 360s became stupid cheap. They were like $50, including a hard drive. And also a copy of Forza was like $10 used.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing they had a feature where you could do triple monitor setup with Forza. So I basically eventually I got all the three of the same monitors, but I basically grabbed two of my dad's old monitors and jerry rigged it, and did a full like triple monitor setup with all the Xboxes plugged into the same Wi-Fi range extender
Wow.
to connect them all together, and yeah, did that for probably a year before getting into Assetto.
Wow.
Damn.
That's
It's
crazy.
so sick. Wish I would have did that when I got my Xbox 360. Got 3 of them.
That's crazy. I mean,
Yeah, like the old style ones. I don't know if I have one sitting around here somewhere.
yeah, that
Yeah.
probably has red rings if it does.
But
But
yeah, the OG white ones. They're like
Mhm.
they're like
That's cool.
$40 or something ridiculously cheap at
That's
GameStop
crazy.
used. It's for refurbished ones.
Kind of talk to me about some of like how the realistics of actual drifting and driving has like grown over the years though. And it changed, compared to your Forza 4 days to now. Like, is it a huge difference, or kind of like, how would you
I
describe
think
that?
so. Like the more people develop things for Assetto, like the more realistic things get. Like with VDC, for instance,
Yeah.
they're replicating, WiseFab and all these different types of setups,
Yeah.
and like even the updates to tire models, like it's becoming more and more realistic. And like I was actually talking to my spotter Craig, who also runs VDC, the other
Yeah.
day, and I was like, "Hey, does anyone still have the V1 VDC cars? Because it'd be fun to just go compare what they used to be to what they are
Oh,
now.
Yeah.
Because they used to be like, similar amounts of power, but huge turbo lag and
Mhm.
complete like the
I
tire
still
models.
have them. I looked the other day.
Like
Really?
on those tires, like it was basically off throttle. You have no grip. You have to be on throttle to make them go anywhere.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I forget when I first tried them out, and I was like, "Holy cow, this is not what it's like. No way, these guys are driving these cars in real life."
I don't know.
Like, but
I'm
ultimately, it kind of.
I'm weird. I like driving the weird stuff like that, where it's challenging to drive.
Yeah.
Like, sure, it's fun to hop in like low horsepower stuff and just go do
Well,
trains
yeah.
with the boys. But like, I don't know. I find enjoyment in learning a new setup and
Mhm.
different different geometry, different engine setup on there, and
Yeah.
trying to go through a course and be on the right line and everything.
Yeah, I mean, the cheapest way to definitely do that is with a sim.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not gonna just. It's like, I feel like let's test the Supra A90 today. It's like, nah, dude. All right. We'll see you in a month and $150,000 later.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have it like that.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I want to try a Supra. Let's go build one real quick.
Yeah.
All right, sell it. Let's
Yeah.
And I think what
Yeah.
like peeves me the most about sim stuff, and it could be because I'm around it all the time, but like some drivers, man, like it's like, oh, I don't want to buy a sim. That's too much money. And I'm like, dog, you're spending 15 grand a weekend to go drive FD and you don't want to buy a sim to better
And
your driving? It's like,
and
what are we
potentially
doing?
go suck because you get
Yeah,
no seat time
exactly.
because to run your FD program car, any other practice time is costing you exponentially way more money than it would to just sit your ass in your comfortable in-home chair and go rip some laps real quick and then go have your ice cream and go to bed.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean, Nick, you got a sim magic set up at home, right? And you
Yeah,
practice. I know because I practiced with you
yeah,
before
yeah. We drive
every round. So
pretty
we do
frequently.
driving. And would you say it helps you?
Oh, absolutely. Like the so my rookie year, I actually had almost no seat time outside of FD.
Mhm.
Everything was on sim.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I mean, it like
and like
it shows that it clearly works. Your lack of, like, I don't want to say that you have no fear, but like the way you drive is just like fill the zone, hit your marks, don't give a shit. Like, just get it done. Like, you're
yeah,
not sitting there like worrying about like, I'm banging limiter too much. Like, nah, like if you bury the throttle, you're burying it, and like I feel like that the sim contributes a lot to just like more so teaching you to get the job done.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps with like planning consistency.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like especially if you're like, oh, okay, I didn't like how I hit this first turn, and I'm not getting it, being able to hit it over and over and over again until you're like, okay, this type of entry, a straight handbrake entry doesn't work. Okay, a flick does, or a clutch kick is even better.
Yep.
And being able to figure out stuff like that ahead of time, and just being able to build that muscle memory has been crazy useful. It's not a full supplement, but that in combination with driving once or twice IRL a month,
Yeah.
Outside of FD, can make a huge difference.
Oh yeah.
So what's your current setup right now?
Right now I've got an Alpha U, a Symagic Alpha U with P1000 pedals, a Q1 shifter, and the TBRS handbrake.
Yeah.
I think it's a TBRS.
Nice. Anton says that he still has the scars from you from being his training dummy for Irwindale.
Yeah.
'Cause those things will bite back, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, That's the other thing too, is on Assetto, I'll bully people. There's no consequence.
Yeah, you bully people. It's not nice, Nick. It's not nice, dude. All the time, bullying everyone.
Listen, in order to know where the limit is, you have to expand past the limit.
No, you're right, but like still.
I feel like that's a big reason why I don't tend to clobber people IRL, is because not only do I really kind of get it out of my system online, but like getting that visual reference of like, okay, this is inches apart versus okay, I'm too close.
Right.
Yeah.
100%. And like kind of like, is the community, would you say the sim community's been really helpful, or are they all dickheads?
I mean,
oh, I guess I kicked everyone out. Sorry about that. Maybe they'll come back.
I don't see him.
I don't see anybody. Who broke?
I was gonna say, as Nick flashes his meme background, if we're all, it's like, yeah. Well,
there we go. We're back.
What program are you using to stream anyway, Nick? I need to. Are you going through something other than Streamlabs, or?
Me?
No, Nick.
Oh, that background thing is Chroma Cam.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Just curious.
Cool. But yeah.
It makes you so small.
I can change the size.
That's funny. How did you kind of learn to, like, what you did, like, to set up your computer and stuff?
So like for the PC side of things, I actually built my computer November, December of 2023.
Yeah.
And I had some help from Craig, my spotter, who's really knowledgeable about all sorts of stuff like that. And I ended up doing like a 4090 7800 X3D and 32 gigs of DDR5 RAM, because I was like, okay, if I'm building a computer, I want it to be future proof, and I'm able to hop in like the VDC public lobby with over 20 cars on it and still get a solid 120 frames in VR.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what you use as VR.
Yeah, I'm running right now. I'm running the Pimax 5K.
Okay.
Okay.
It's like a 200 degrees FOV. So,
That's cool.
And it's a little on the heavier side, but it basically feels like I'm wearing a helmet.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
I didn't think of that, honestly, because I'm like a kind of a big hater on VR. I've used it before. It's just I don't really enjoy. I think that if you do have a 3-screen, like a big unit, I feel like that's nice. But now that like the weight and like simulating the fact of like your head moving and things like that, but like my only problem is that like you're not seeing your hands in the game, and that messes me up a lot.
yeah, that
Like
that part
obviously
doesn't bother me.
you know where to grab, like at it's like you know your setup, but like yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
the not being able to see my hands doesn't bother me, but if you turn the driver arms on a Seto, that bothers me so much.
I use them.
Because the guy's going like this the whole time,
Oh
and
yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
what is this guy doing with his hands?
Driving that
Like
big
his
old
arms are
knob.
like going through themselves,
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, that's.
They just need one of those knobs on there, like a trucker.
Yeah, like a
I-
little fucking knob.
I thought about getting a trucker knob just for the lulls.
As the wheels spinning so
Make-
fast
make
back.
I didn't do anything, I promise. It wasn't me. I don't know what
It's
it
you.
was. It is me, but I don't know how it's me.
This guy's just punting all of his problems onto us.
I think triples are definitely the best, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Brandon, you want to critique his driving? What does he need to improve on?
No, Nick's great. I mean, he bullies people when he's fucking chasing them, but that's about it. But besides that, I mean, he's a solid driver. He does well. He just needs got to show up to your VDC events, Nick. You gotta stop not
Listen.
showing up.
Listen, all right.
This is 2 already, dude.
Round
Wait, you're
one.
signed up?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, round one.
Dude.
Yeah, round one. I had some. I don't remember what was going on.
It was
Yeah.
something. Yeah, it was something.
And then round two was
You were ill.
what,
You were done.
Yeah.
2 weekends ago, and
Yeah.
I was in bed with pneumonia before going to the hospital and being there.
Yeah.
That's a whole other story, but we're good
Yeah.
now. So
Right.
So you'll be at
Okay.
you'll be competing round 3.
that's the plan as long as I don't have any interference.
What car are you driving for it? Your car?
Yeah, so I've got my E36 in there. It's
Okay. Wow, big E36 boys this year, huh?
my buddy Anton's model that he was nice enough to let me use, and then we got the pro car livery basically replicated onto it.
Nice. Are you gonna build build your E46 on there? Or?
I've got the old version of it, and it's got, I don't have an updated livery for it. The livery I have on it was basically the SEMA 2022 livery that we did with Koru.
Yeah.
Just with different logo placement on everything.
Oh, okay, gotcha. That's cool. Obviously you work with Sim Magic. The logo's on your car at least. So like,
Yeah.
kind of what's it been like working with those guys?
That's been awesome, especially having the fan experience at the track.
Yeah.
Is not only is it cool to meet people and help show them the sim drift side of things, but it's also been nice on rounds where I might lose some practice laps to actually make up a little bit at least.
Right. See it.
So
Because the rule is if you take someone, it doesn't count as a practice lap, right?
I think it's basically there's a certain spot you have to get to in the chase position, like uninterfered with, and that in the lead it's pretty much
Yeah, sorry, I was talking about something else. I was forgetting. Sorry.
in
never mind.
the
Know what I was saying.
lead. basically if you leave the line in the lead, that counts as a lap.
Gotcha.
I didn't know that there were rules and regulations, and I know that they count how many runs that you do for practice, but yeah.
Yeah.
Damn,
So,
but
like,
yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, having some magic there and just at least like keeping your arms moving, keeping your head and eyes like focused and stuff. It just
yeah.
keeps you in the game. Well, no pun intended, but
Yeah, I mean, it's just extra seat time.
yeah, 100%.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, like, I recently got into the sim drifting stuff, kind of through everyone who I know literally is like, hey, you need to go get a sim. I'm like, fine. So I finally did it. And it's been actually a lot of fun. I have an E36 as well. Nothing like yours, but just a much simpler car. But like I was driving some of the lower powered cars, and it was like, you know what? I kind of feel it. I feel like it's somewhat like what my car is like to drive.
Yeah.
And it's really cool because now I get to go to tracks that are local to me and get better at those tracks and try and, you know, get muscle memory down for the tracks that are local to me. So like when I go to an event, I don't look like a complete idiot, you know, at least attempt
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, I think that's also a big thing that played into like my progression too, is just being able to get seat time through sim and everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you pay for everything once, and once you've got it, it's unlimited seat time.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
awesome.
How much time do you want to put in is, you know, you'll
Yeah.
And you
as
get to
as
go
long
to
as
some
you're
pretty cool locations, and people have created
Go
some really cool
anywhere.
tracks as well on there, and it's
yeah.
cool to see the imagination that you have out there. Yeah, the
Yeah,
chat is insane. I've
If
been
you're
trying to
if
keep
you're
up.
committed to like drifting for at least 3 years, you should probably get a sim. Like if you plan to do it for the next 3-5 years, probably get a sim.
No, but they're too expensive.
honestly, I think everybody should start.
Yeah, well, like I don't know, Brandon. You want to give me give me some like price levels for like entry level sims. Like what if you were to build like an entry level sim for someone? Like what would you do?
So if it's like an FD driver,
Yeah.
right? So like the setup behind me, I have one screen, right?
Mhm.
I wish I had three. Like ideally, I want three of these screens, right?
Yeah.
It's like for me, this is fine because I'm not on, I don't drive a car. I don't have an FD car or a
Mhm.
program or anything like that. But if I'm like building something for like an FD guy, at minimum, it's going to be a triple monitor setup, right? And
Interesting.
then at minimum, it'll be like an aluminum extrusion cockpit. So like aluminum. It's got to have, a pretty beefy PC, like a 4070 graphics card, which is like upper mid range of graphics cards, right? Well, like all in all, like in the parts, it'd probably be like 4,500 to 5 grand. And then, if I were to like build it for them and then deliver it to them and
Right.
all that, it'd be like 7 to 75 to 8.
Yeah.
And oh, bye, Nick. It only goes up from there. Oh,
Yeah.
Nick
Yeah.
didn't like my pricing, so he just fucking. He's like, no. Back.
but like obviously like
Nick,
from a
yes,
real
back.
from a
Yes.
realism setup, I mean you're there is what
Yeah.
you're saying though,
Like
you know?
it's like my idea and my philosophy when building sims is like
Mhm.
make it the highest quality of parts. Of course, we're not gonna, if you're on like a budget, not gonna spend like 20 to 50 grand, right? Trying to keep it like 10 and under, but still investing into quality products because at the end of the day, things you buy, you're gonna use it. And if you're driving an FD, you're gonna use it, at least 20 hours before an event, right? And you want it to work all the time because nothing sucks more than, oh no, my pedals broke or my shifter broke or my handbrake broke. I gotta get something, I gotta spend more to fix it. And then it like kind of drives you away from it. So trying to be as realistic as possible, sticking within, a relative budget, but you still gotta put some cheddar in it. Like it's not gonna be like, 3 grand for
Right.
It's like
like a
spend the
good
money
setup.
once and then don't worry about it for several years.
Yeah, I mean, Nate,
Exactly.
you just bought, like, you could attest to that, even you setting and building it up yourself. I mean, you just bought a PC, right? It was a hunk of change right there. And then the actual base, and then the equipment to set it up in, the monitor. Yeah, when all said and done, you were probably like 5,500 in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, like
exactly.
it's like, and it's cool because, well, like for my case, I had some spare monitors running around because that's my job. So I I
Go figure.
had a couple things left over that I used and whatnot, and like I used my steering wheel from my BMW for the wheel on the actual thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually have one of the Sim Minis, or the newer one
Yeah.
that came out, and
Alpha
it's
Mini.
Alpha Mini,
Yep.
and it's fantastic. It's very, I mean, if you run that thing on 100% force feedback, it'll break your fingers. So it's great. Um,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
so it definitely has
Like
plenty of power.
as long as you're running like high quality products like SimMagic, SimiCube, Feld, like as long as you're running those high quality products, like they'll last for
It's
5, 10 years. The thing that's gonna go first is your computer. Like your hard drive is gonna go out before any of the sim stuff goes out. So
It's
that's all
true.
I'm saying.
I'm knocking on all the wood right now.
Yeah.
Stop that.
like even before I partnered with SimMagic, I spent my own money and bought an Alpha Mini, and it was a huge upgrade from what I was on.
It's
Yeah.
crazy how much that their price on that specific unit has dropped dramatically with
Yeah,
like
it's
because their
probably one of the most
technology and everything.
affordable wheels
Yeah.
on the market right now.
Yeah, that's like, and now everybody looks at like Moza. I'm like, but instead you could spend a little like
Yeah.
$50 more and just buy this
Yep.
and have tons of people in the community that also have this and the customer service backing, and it's like, yeah, I know which choice to make. But
And that's the other
yeah.
thing too, is like having people to around you to help. Like obviously, I'm lucky to be friends with Boundless Racing down here, Mr. Know It All. But you know, like for me, I'm a Mac guy. I got a PC and I didn't even know how to throw away anything in the trash. I was like, where's the trash button? They're like, it's called a recycling bin. I'm like, oh. So like that's how new I was to Windows stuff, because I'd been using Mac stuff my entire life basically. Um, and but like like he was able to help me like walk through how to set up, you know, your neck effects and all your different add-ons you have to do, and like the idea that you didn't actually load the game to play the game. You had to buy the game originally, but you don't ever touch that again. You load
Yeah.
up Content Manager. I'm like, well, but that's not the game. And they're like, no,
Yeah.
that's what you have to do. I'm like, what?
Back in my day,
Back in my day, I just load up the game and I'm ready to go.
load up the game,
Yeah, let me
pick
roll up the
a
old
pick a
Xbox here.
SP
You
mod
go.
car and Project Toge, and you send it.
Yeah. So, no, it's a totally different world, and it's really cool that I get to dabble in. But obviously, you guys spend a lot of time there, and it's a really interesting.
And I've sucked all 1,000 hours of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, I mean, how many, like, I feel like it's growing. Like I've seen so many people this winter just get into sim stuff because
every year you see an influx of people. I feel like that it's like, oh wow, they didn't have a sim. It's like, what the hell have you been doing? It's like your boy here could probably rip your car harder than you because I got zero sympathy for anything, and I'm just gonna. It's like, I know that I won't have a button to reset, but like, golly, I'll know my limits.
Yeah.
It's like,
And the great thing is like software and hardware is always evolving. So, you may get it now, but things always evolve and they'll always get better. So
it's true.
cool to see.
No, 100%. I was gonna try and hit some of these questions, but you guys in the chat have been insane, and I have lost track of where these questions were. So no, I appreciate everyone in the chat. You guys want to, show the
Oh,
stream some
I-
love and actually like it. That's always cool too. But I will go back and see if I can find the questions I had. But I know one of them was, how was the switch? I was Malik. Yeah, Malik asked, how was the switch from GT to Kenda? Just kind of were there any differences when you made the switch over to that tire? Like, did you have to set the car up differently, or like what was that like?
Not really. So like I'd say the GT is kind of like a 50% forward to 50% side bite
Yeah.
feel, and the Kenda was like a 65% forward to 35% side.
Okay. So similar,
So
just yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying there.
so it didn't really have to change much. And then I mean, combining that with the WiseFab change and the shock change, that I haven't done a true
Oh yeah, it's back-to-back
like
tasks. Yeah, because you
exact
changed so
same
much.
comparison.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But
Gotcha. Malik also asked, who's been the biggest influence on your drifting career?
It's weird. I've always tried to like model my driving as like the aggression of Chelsea with the precision of Jinx.
Yeah. I mean,
So
that's
those two guys have, among others, have always been, dudes that I look up to.
100%.
rightfully so, for sure.
Yeah.
We got desperately wanting to know, Anton, about your CSL DD direct drive. Did you have one, or is he talking about your CSR Elite?
No, I had a CSL DD for about 3 weeks, and then it broke.
The way it broke was fascinating, though.
Yeah, the like steering column is like, I can't tell if it's like plastic or just the porous metal, but the whole steering part where the steering wheel actually mounted to, like the hub, it just snapped off.
Really?
Yeah.
So like mid transition, it just
it was just in the middle of driving and the wheel just fell off.
I didn't know that. I thought it just broke.
No.
Like you were hopping in it and it broke. I
No,
didn't
no,
know.
it's like in the middle of,
just,
I'm sure it cracked or something, and then it just fell off.
Gotcha.
So then from that point, that's when you looked into
So at that point, I went back to my 2.5 until my 2.5 started having issues just because of it being, what was it,
dated.
8 years old at that point.
Yeah.
And yeah, then that's when I got the Alpha Mini.
Oh, okay.
And then after that, ended up partnering with Magic.
Hell yeah.
Nice. We got another question from Leek. He asks, what was it like working with Jerry Yang? We kind of hit like that, like what his program was, but like how was him as a person working with him?
It was good. His experience with, the fabrication and the mechanic side of things. I mean, he's been in the game so long that, you have any issue, he knows how to fix it.
Gotcha. Phil asks,
tons of knowledge.
Yeah. Phil asks, how do the VDC 4.0 cars feel compared to your real pro car?
The 4.0 cars are good, but just wait till the 5.0s come out.
Do we have like an estimate time, end of season, mid season? Come on, guys.
Give it time, sir.
Yeah,
I
hopefully.
can't,
hopefully
dude.
soon.
I just want to know. I can't keep practicing if I know that it's gonna be better.
I asked about, I think it was 2 weeks ago. It was just before I got sick, and Craig was saying, hopefully soon.
All right.
That's always a great answer. Hopefully soon. That's a great way to tell everybody absolutely nothing.
There's a lot of good things coming. I'll just say that.
I get amped for VDC as a whole. I think that support that more almost than FD sometimes. And I love FD, but golly, I'm
Yeah.
just like, I'm as soon as like VDC is live, I'm like, gotta be there, baby. Saturday morning. Here we
I mean,
go.
what other series do you see top 32 drivers qualify with like a 93 or higher, and then you still see people that don't qualify
With a
with
90.
90 plus point
Yeah.
runs? Like, it's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah. That's like we had this discussion the other night. I was trying Brandon's settings for neck effects, and I use a shitty Logitech, and so I constantly have to like feel where the force feedback is. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
and with his like with that, it's like the head's constantly going back and forth because I'm like trying to literally wiggle the wheel
Yeah.
until I'm comfortable. And I'm like, bro, I can't do that. I'm like, I'm gonna stick to my OG settings until I get the better things. But yeah, big preach on those settings though. They felt great, but for what I'm using, I can't do it, dude. Sorry.
That's why you gotta
funny.
use VR. VR puts you in the car.
Yeah, I'll be punching my wooden table right here. Be going to grab my eBay handbrake and be punching my 2x4.
For the longest time, I used a flight stick as a handbrake.
Honestly, not bad.
Yeah,
I
that was
so
that was the GOAT move, like 2018 to
So,
2022 ish.
yeah, when I was like,
This one wasn't me. This
I
time
used the PlayStation controller and I took a toilet paper roll and I taped it around the right analog stick and then I would tap it backwards.
what?
Hell yeah.
And I would bind the right analog stick to handbrake. When I pulled it backwards, I would use so it just extended it higher. So I would just tap it. Yeah,
Really?
yeah,
that was my beginning.
for up until actually, I want to say 2022, I had the like OG Fanatec rig from
Yeah.
like 2013,
Yeah.
Yep.
and at that time, there's not really a place to put a handbrake, so I had it was the most jerry-rigged setup ever. Initially, I had a box of DVDs, like a cardboard box filled with DVDs, with a flight stick on top of it, to the box, to the rig.
What?
And eventually, I figured out how to rig up an old, actual, like real handbrake handle with bungee cords and like a hockey skate lace.
Oh my gosh.
Pull on the shifter to activate the button. And
Oh my gosh.
it was the sickest setup ever. It worked miraculously, but
That's
yeah,
funny.
I was like, okay, I need to. Yeah, this is not sufficient.
Yeah, Zach, I built my own clutch pedal once out of an Xbox controller, shoestring and roll cart wheel, rubber bands, and sawed in half pedal set. Use it
It's
to
not
get my
even a
DDC
joke. He
license.
actually did that.
Yeah, use it. That's
Keith?
what like what's his name? The one European guy in VDC who got his license with a G920 in like grandma's chair, in like the couch chair. Petroskas or
What?
one of
Saying
the
words, I don't know.
yeah, one of the dudes in VDC got his license with one of these turd wagons and in a comfort of like a big couch chair. And it's just like man, what am I doing?
So my buddy Keith's old handbrake setup was it was a broom handle self-tappered to an old set of Logitech pedals. Like it was just on the brake pedal. So he set up the brake pedal access for those pedals to be the handbrake access.
Yeah, so when you would
so
pull it would leverage
pull it,
on the pedal.
That's amazing.
And then my buddy Chris ended up doing the same thing with his setup for a little bit.
Honestly, if it's stupid and it works, is it really stupid?
Yeah.
Exactly. Sometimes you gotta jerry rig stuff.
I will say we are spoiled nowadays. With how easy it is to set up things and
definitely a few more options to go about like
Oh yeah,
buying things and stuff like that, and you
yeah.
know,
Like when I was first getting into it, it was pretty much like for force feedback setup is pretty much Fanatec or Fanatec.
yeah,
Right.
I played Forza 4 going back to it a lot with that wheel, and then just binding handbrake to the B and just
Yeah,
mental noting where that is at all times on the wheel. And it's like just quick clutch in B, and it's like holy, even if it's like, you know, two
you should have done the
rotations.
handbrake mod.
Well, that's when I switched to PS4 or PS3
Uh,
controller that I linked up, and I put a long like toilet paper tube, and I glued a few together around the right analog stick, and I would pull back, and it would just activate the analog stick.
yeah, with that handbrake mod, you basically took some extra wiring for that came with the whole setup and you soldered the wiring to like the upshift button on the
Oh yeah,
sequential,
yeah, that
and then
freaking
you like basically shoved enough wiring through the center of the wheel and then soldered it to the B button on the actual like wheel face.
yeah, I never did that. I watched many videos time and time again. I was like, I'm a fuck this up. Like, I'm gonna have no wheel if I do this.
Yeah, I mean that was the big thing too. Like when I was getting into it, was just like, okay, because like I had talked to so many people and they're like, yeah, I gotta push this button for my handbrake, and I was just like, damn, nobody has a.
I don't know what to tell you guys.
He's
Apparently, my
good.
internet is trash. Maybe I don't know. They're still
And
here.
yeah, that was. I mean, once I had seen like, okay, this is how you do it, and it's gonna work. That's when I was like, okay, now I know I can make this happen.
Hell yeah. I don't want to mispronounce his name. I think he's a competitor. What is by Nikhil? Nikhil?
Deal.
Nice. What's Nick's best and worst part on the pro car?
Best part?
Yeah. What's your favorite and least favorite part of your own car?
How about we
that's
do
a-
it where it's like not sponsored parts, so you don't upset any of your.
That's what I mean. I don't mean like a physical, like, all right, your control arms are your worst favorite, you know, but like what is the most favorite
Yeah, these
thing that you
Kenda
love about
tires,
your
man.
car?
I don't even know how to drive on these things.
or your, you know, and the least like favorite thing that you like about your chassis.
They all look the same.
I think the least favorite part of my car is probably how heavy it is.
Okay.
It's like over 3,300 pounds with me in it.
Okay, yeah, that's heavy. And you didn't have to take any weight out to run the 305 or whatever, right?
No, I can go even bigger on tire and still be okay.
Okay.
Wow.
And that, I mean that's just how it was built. It was built for a big tire, so. My favorite part is probably my main engine when I get it back.
It's very nice.
That thing has been so good. Like the amount of beating that it took and it didn't have a catastrophic failure. It just was hurt.
Yeah.
Like I could have probably kept running it and it would have hurt it more and more, but
yeah, you probably could have got through that event and maybe even the next, but just like you said, just losing power.
Yeah. Yeah, that thing is, that thing has been so good. It was actually originally built by Rick at RTS.
Oh wow.
And was like when Alex had it built, he was basically just like, build me the most badass LS possible. And sure enough, it has been.
That's cool.
So.
Hey, and like you saw how long that thing lasted. That's incredible.
Yeah, because
one
it
hell of a
did.
program that you ended up buying up there.
It did 22 or 21, 22, and 23, or half of 23 basically, or no, all of 23, and then basically half of 24 untouched.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
was at 1,000 from, or at or over 1,000 from basically Orlando 22 until now.
100%. Nikhil actually or it said he actually he meant the drift sims.
What? That's what.
I'm confused.
Least and most favorite part of drift sims. That's what he asked.
There's not that many parts, is there?
Oh, that was another question.
Or of like using a sim, or
yeah. I'm assuming like.
I don't think he means physical parts. Like
yeah, I think my favorite part is being able to get unlimited seat time at any track in any car that you can think of. The only downside, at least for my setup, is the lack of G-forces.
Which I don't know if you can really replicate unless you get like a gyrating chair.
Yeah, that's getting into some pretty expensive.
Got traction loss systems. They start at like 10, so some dollars there.
But even then,
how does traction loss even how does that work?
You mount like on each 4 corners. It's like a system, and they use actuators like off of like a motion setup, and it just moves like this way, and it moves forward and backwards, so you feel the side to side when you're like losing traction and stuff. Interesting.
Does it actually? I mean, I guess you wouldn't really know too much about the real life stuff. But
I've ridden in a car before, and I've tried stuff with that, right? And it feels like I could feel it,
So the ones that I tried at PRI it's better than nothing, but it's not quite. I mean, it's not the same as for real.
Yeah.
Just because like the physical getting moved around is very similar, but you don't have that actual G-force planting you in the seat.
Yeah.
That's the biggest difference on all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I'm gonna quick hit this question from where did it even go? Malik.
Nice.
Favorite driver to watch on grid?
Current grid or previous grid?
Current grid.
Current grid.
So you can't say Denofa.
Yeah. Probably James.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an easy answer.
Yeah, James or Connor is.
Yeah. And then those two driving together is just, they're going all out no matter what.
Yeah. I mean, cool. I'd say that you're becoming one of the underdog fan favorites in a way. It's.
I'm doing my best. It's
like throwing big angle, doing big throttle, big commitment.
The crazy thing for me is I'm still such a fan of the sport that sometimes it's like, it's still weird, like that I'm, one of the dudes now.
Yeah, that are looked up to, Yeah, I'm sure that feels a little strange in a way where it's like you're still looking up to other dudes, and it's like you got little Johnny over there. It's like, Noback, I love you.
Yeah. So like, obviously, you've had a bunch of different experiences at FD over the years. You have any like fan experiences that kind of stick out, or like kind of?
I've signed a couple of babies.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, not on the skin, obviously, but like at I think they were both at Irwindale, or maybe one was St. Louis. But they basically brought their baby in like an all-white onesie through the autograph line.
Wow.
It's like, can you sign my baby? That's been an interesting one.
That's cool.
I'm trying to think of any like super crazy ones. It's usually pretty tame.
Yeah.
Do you have any like super fans or anything?
I mean, nothing like crazy that I know of, at least.
Okay. Maybe that's
At least
a good
not
thing.
not outside of family, I guess.
Maybe they're keeping it under wraps. Yeah. Need to sign some bobs. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Well, but
Yeah, I
we'll
mean,
figure it out.
so when you're obviously at the event though, like when you are setting up the car and stuff, are you just kind of looking back on last year's notes, or so with the new Wise Fab, do you have to kind of like throw some of that out the window, or like going to this year?
This year, so rounds 1 through 3, I can pretty much use as baseline for this upcoming year once we get the main engine back in.
Yeah.
But pretty much everything after that is kind of out the window because
The power change.
just yeah, like I can use those as baselines as well for the other rounds, and like gearing and everything. I can still,
Yeah.
I know basically this track you need 130, this track 118,
Right.
stuff like that. And that usually won't change with power level unless I'm like so far down on power that I just need that extra bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's weird to explain. Like something like St. Louis, maybe with super down on power.
Right.
Maybe this year I think I ran maybe a little bit less wheel speed than I would have normally.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Because I didn't have that extra power to really ramp up the wheel speed going through the power alley after the outside 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot that's gonna kind of get thrown out the window because of that monkey wrench that got thrown in the pot.
Yeah. So as things do happen, but Andreas asks here, which do you prefer, sequential or H pattern?
Sequential.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if anyone had the choice, you would choose a sequential.
I wouldn't.
Really?
I've never driven one, but what makes you want to, like, what makes you
It's just
decide
easier.
that?
It's easier,
really
but
see it.
you can't misshift it.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean,
the only way is if you don't pull
clutching
enough.
in every time.
Yeah.
You are. Okay.
Yeah.
But they
It's
want
like
you
you don't have to, and you don't have to on a like an H pattern 4-speed dog box either.
Yeah.
Because they're all like a sequential is. I mean, that's just the way it shifts.
Yeah.
They're both dog ring engagement.
Yep.
So you could even without like the strain gauge setup, if you lift, you can still shift it without using the clutch.
Right.
But it just puts so much extra stress on everything that it's just
more pressure.
It's just not worth the wear.
So just ultimately, it's you can't misshift, and
Plus, I'm 99% of the time I'm just going from 3rd to 4th anyway.
Yeah. It's only 1 gear difference most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even in like Orlando, I'll be in 3rd the whole track. I'll start 3rd and leave it there.
I was gonna say, I guess even like leading up to the start, it's like you're only just banging. Well, we got a comment in the chat. Why do you start in 3rd? So I'm assuming that then you only bang 1 time. So
yeah.
Why do you so you do start in 3rd gear?
I do. Yeah. So
I did not know that.
I don't know if I should be sharing this, but I will. Watching like Cletus's videos where he's got the 2-speed automatics.
Yep.
The gear that he launches in is so long that it minimizes the wheel speed, like the wheel slip.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And up until I started doing that, I mean, with a supercharged V8, there is so much torque down low that it's almost impossible to avoid doing that unless you make the gearing longer.
And it's not
So
like
to
you
avoid,
you can't do
making
boost by
everything,
gear in a supercharged car like that, can you? Not really. I mean, you can probably adjust timing or something, but
there's some trickery.
yeah.
Like,
But a lot of there's like, you obviously can't run traction control because that's illegal.
No, but you could set up boost by gear. Basically, if you set up a boost controller to control the supercharger bypass valve,
Yeah. Okay.
then you can basically set all that up. But
why do that if you could just go to third gear and
To the third.
get your, get the torque higher up rather than, it'll just drive you along.
Yeah, I'm basically launching with 100-mile-an-hour wheel speed more or less, as opposed to launching with 60 or 70 and then having to shift more.
Yep.
Interesting.
But basically, it reduces the torque multiplication.
Yeah, I know a lot of dudes take off in second, and that makes a lot of sense to me. But yeah, no, third, I mean, especially in the circumstance with a high-powered V8 and the torque and everything like that, you don't want to break free and restart your run 3 times out, or third times you're out. But by kicking a cone out just because your rear end slips out,
Right.
Yeah, so I get that. I just had no idea that you were one of the few, or if the only one.
I think I'm the only one doing it.
I know I've heard in circumstances where like, oh, we're missing second, we gotta only use third, but
no, it is crazy because some of the teams do use like legit drag racing like techniques to like get off lines that you hear.
Yeah, like I know Adam, when he's on the line, he'll load up the suspension and basically slightly ride the clutch and be on handbrake to like get that extra suspension dig.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. Although I did ask Odie literally last stream about setting up drag suspension versus drift suspension. He was like, yeah, they're still totally different, just because the front end the front ends are completely different when you set up, because he said you can do some pretty crazy things in the front end of a drag car to counteract weight and stuff and shifting it.
Yeah, you're not worried about steering for the most part on a drag setup. You're pretty much using the front suspension to transfer as much weight to the rear as possible on that.
Yeah, but to have a good dig is a good dig.
This is true. Where was the other question? Which track would you drive/drift if you could only drive one track for the rest of your life? That was Nikhil.
Ooh. Any track or like FD tracks?
Any.
Can I just say like the Ebisu complex?
Yeah, I was thinking like something like Ebisu or like Biker Nicky, something that has several different layouts.
Exactly. It's kind of a cheater question, but yeah. No, but it's like, okay, so do you have a favorite FD track? Was it Irwindale?
It was Irwindale. When we ran Utah the first year, that was my favorite track. But then they made the second turn in a full outside zone, and it became not my favorite track.
Yeah.
The first year, you haul ass, you huck it in, you stay floored, transition staying floored, and you're just floored the whole track.
Yeah, it just makes sense.
And you just huck the car, big angle, staying on throttle, and like I kind of get it being in full outside zone, but like you introduce that small slowdown and hesitation going into that zone because people aren't wanting to go off track. Whereas if you kept that outside zone to before where it currently starts, and then have that late apex inside clip that's more center track, then
could you have like a touch and go right where you guys enter, basically, to where like you want the car to enter here and then get to that inner clip?
I mean, the first inner clip I never really had an issue with.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. You're talking about putting it back instead of making that outer zone, right?
No, on the second turn. So
Oh,
when
okay.
when we had that second on the second turn, that late apex inside clip that was like
Yeah.
8 feet into the track.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think if you did that and then maybe add a touch and go on the outer edge before
Yep.
going into 3, I think
Yeah.
that's the move for that track.
Interesting. Yeah, because
people would transition completely different. Basically, some people would hug that inside line after the inside clip. Some people would go wide.
yeah,
And I think that was the biggest thing that was making it hard to chase going into 3.
Yeah, it's a lot of driver speculation rather than just actual like factual track information.
Yeah, versus if you put a small touch and go on the outside of the track after that late apex inside clip, you know everyone's going to try and get out there before transitioning across the track for 3.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And I think that would be the best layout for that track, but
yeah. What do you think about the entry? What would you do on the entry? Would you do the inner clip or would you do the outside zone again?
I think I would do the inner clip, like that same exact layout for that it was in 2022.
Okay.
But maybe move that first inside clip off the corner, like more into the track.
Interesting.
Just to make it a little bit easier to hit it at the same angle that you're gonna get to outside 1.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. So you're not having to fight the car and
you're not worried about driving into the inside clip and then driving back out to that outside zone.
Gotcha.
It fits the same angle radius in a way.
Yeah.
If you're at the right arc, you're gonna just flow with it.
Because I feel like Utah, there's a lot of potential there, but it's like it's been tricky to like untap it all. You know?
Yeah, it's definitely been an interesting one, especially the shape of outside 1 last year was interesting. It was like a Nike swoosh.
Yeah, it was.
It was like super tight and then very open.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So imagine doing that down 400 horsepower.
Yeah.
it was a bit of a struggle.
Yeah, well, I mean, that track is interesting because it does separate cars that are struggling with horsepower because of the altitude and everything. So
yeah, that's
always a fun one to go to, and you just, hey, what'd you do? Oh, I added boost. What did you do? Oh, we put the small pulley on for this one. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. What'd you do? Oh, we added nitrous this round. I'm like, oh, okay. It's like everyone...
Oh, what'd you do? I lost power.
yeah. That's it. At the end of the day, everybody's still losing power. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but Andreas also asked, "Are you interested in competing internationally? If so, which series?"
I mean, I would love to do Drift Masters if budget and another vehicle were ever an option.
Yeah.
I mean those tracks look so much fun, and it's like, I don't want to say a different driving style, but it is.
Well, they're differently built cars and different tires and different. They're gonna drive different because they're a different spec, I guess you could say.
Yeah, the thing that I like over there is there's I don't think there's a minimum weight. I think it's a maximum 285 tire size, but I don't think there's a minimum weight that you have to be.
Right.
You just can't be over 285.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you could build, do like an Innova spec car, build, like a 2,100 pound car.
Yep.
And give it 800 horsepower and put it on a 285, and that thing would be an absolute rocket ship.
It'd be cool to drive,
Yeah.
You get a guy like, and it kind of creates an interesting question of like, obviously you kind of saw what Stuckey did last year.
Yeah.
With the small tire light car thing, and it's like, I'm curious to see if more people start to do that. Just from cost perspective, it seems like it would save costs a lot even to try that. But
yeah, I know Odie tried it.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting for sure.
just to see where the diminishing returns are, and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
I know a lot of us would probably have to completely rebuild our cars and like
Right. Well,
redo
exactly.
cages and redo fabrication and all sorts of stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, no,
to,
yeah.
to
At
get
that
them
point,
light enough.
you'd have to like build a new chassis, basically. But yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like it is an interesting concept that he kind of brought up, and I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense, especially for like a lower budget guy.
Yeah, for sure. Like I remember talking to Nofa about it, and he was, because I think he was saying his E46 was like 2,400 and change with him in it.
Wow.
And I was just like, how the hell did you get it that light? And he's like, you have to build it that light.
Yeah. That's cool.
So.
One driver. This is Nikhil. One driver you would like to beat from Drift Masters, perhaps one from FD2.
Any?
Who would you like? Who would you like to drive with from Drift Masters? Who do you think would be cool to drive with?
Well, it looks like we're gonna get to drive with Jack this year. Driving with Connor was awesome last year, because he's gonna be consistent. Obviously James as well. It'd be cool to have Peter come back over here and get to drive with him.
It'd be interesting to see what he would do with the Supra.
Yeah,
it seems like a challenging car to figure out. So
yeah, I think he's also been in the S15 for so long, and they've got it so dialed that they just have to put in so much work to get the Supra close to what the S15 is.
Yep.
Like, just
100%.
I mean, the amount of development time they have on those S15s was just
ridiculous.
Crazy.
Yeah, I would love to see Dwayne McKeever. See what he would do. He's a little insane, but I love his driving style.
Him and Laurie Heinonen, just because I want NASCAR V8s. And
his S13 sounds so good.
Good golly, he won like every voting thing from like the drift chat, or I think his name is. Every poll he put up, it was Laurie Heinonen to the top. It was like fan car favorite. It was like best sounding car.
And it's like the first year he had the NASCAR V8. It's like, whoa, that's cool. And then he comes back and he's like, yeah, I added a blower to it. And you're just like, holy shit.
Oh my god, it got cooler.
Yeah, NASCAR V8 revving to like 9,000 RPM with a supercharger is just, that's crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, it's always fan.
We'll probably get one this year. Daigo Saito.
Diego Santos.
I may or may not have heard some things through the grapevine, so
we'll see.
I can't confirm or deny anything because I don't know for sure, but I have heard some things.
Yeah, there just happened to be like a TRD Racing V8 at Jerry Yang's or something. It's kind of crazy.
Pretty wild, dude.
Not saying that that Jerry has previously provided Daigo with NASCAR engines, but
yeah, no, it's weird. It just happened. Coincidence.
Yeah, I heard Minot was driving NASCAR engines next year. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's another thing.
And just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Oh, good old live streaming, man.
That's another thing.
Good old live streaming. All right, what was the other thing?
The autographs line thing. I think it was 2022.
Yeah.
I remember Hero and his parents coming through the autograph line, and I was just like,
what?
"Oh, hey, I know who you are."
Oh, that's crazy.
And he's like 12 at the time.
Yeah.
Jeez.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
like
2 years ago.
It's wild. He's been driving just as long as me, and he's only 15.
That's insane.
That's funny. Wow, that's crazy. Wow, we almost hit 2 hours already. That's crazy. We've been going through the time here, but I think it is time to ask my favorite question, which is, although I don't know if you're gonna have a good story because you play by the book, and I was gonna ask, do you have an Andy Luck story?
None directly applying to me.
Yeah.
Andy's one of those dudes where basically if you do everything you're supposed to and don't screw up, he's pretty easy to work with.
Oh
I
yeah.
kind of like my dad basically.
He's like you're like, I don't know
Doing
where
what
to
you're
go.
supposed to do.
Where is he? Where's Andy?
Yeah, it's like as long as you read the rule books and everything, you pay attention to what's going on, and you're where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. That's pretty easy.
Yeah.
I have heard some stories that are probably inappropriate to share on here about some other people back in the day and stuff that he had to deal with.
Yeah. I mean, those are
I've
always...
also heard some funny threats that happened to a driver that I used to help out.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think it's appropriate to share that one either, but maybe off air.
Yeah. It's always a good time with him,
Yeah.
And like you said, though,
Yeah.
as long as you keep your head on straight, you seem to come out okay, He doesn't hate me yet,
basically,
so.
as long as you make it easy for him to do his job, he'll make it easy for you to do what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
100%.
Keep a clean pit. Be nice. Show up on time.
Yeah.
Again, be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you guys got any final questions, Herbie, Brandon? It's your last chance to talk to him about how bad he is at driving, like you were telling me before the stream.
Yeah, dude.
What? What'd you say?
Yeah,
What
you were telling me
the-
before the stream
Yeah.
how bad Nick was at driving when you were driving.
I
with him,
never
and it was
said
just
that.
like-
awful.
Don't say that.
I don't know what I'm doing.
You like pineapple on pizza?
Absolutely not.
Good man.
It's a
Okay,
good
here's
answer.
a curveball.
Cooked pineapple is not good. The only exception for like cooked pineapple is if it's in like a chicken teriyaki meatball or something like that. But it has to be like mixed in like in the ground.
In the beef.
Mixture.
In the ground. Yeah. Oh, wow. That sounds really good.
Yeah, they're these chicken teriyaki like meatballs from Costco.
Yeah.
And they're like pineapple teriyaki.
Sounds pretty
That's
good.
probably the only place
Yeah.
that I've had where cooked
Cooked.
pineapple works.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's not
Damn.
good.
Anton asked, "What would you do for a Klondike bar?"
Are they sponsoring me?
Oh man. Ask Brandon how hefty he is tonight. Are you hefty?
What's that got to do with anything?
I
And
don't
you
know.
got Stephen Kwan. Is your haircut the way it is because of Denofa?
No, I cut it like once every 6 months and just kind of let it do
Send
its
it.
thing.
Yeah.
Let it hang.
I'm also
Oh,
getting
yeah.
to the age where,
You're
I don't
gonna
have
be
as
like
much
me.
of it as I used to be.
There's
There's a good spot back here. So
Hell yeah.
until it starts looking bad with a hat, to the point where I'm like, yeah, it's time.
Yeah.
I'll
send it.
probably keep the hat on.
One of
Eventually,
us,
he will
baby.
join the Herbie crew.
You too, dog. You
Yeah,
just
yeah.
put a hat on. Shut your mouth. This guy talks all this game, but he's just as bald as me.
But yeah, genetics have not been on my side apparently, because my grandpa had the spot,
Oh
and
yeah.
then my great grandpa also on the same side
Nice.
had the same type of hairline. So
Dang.
Yeah. There's just no hope for some of us. It
it
is
happens.
What it is. All right, guys, we have hit the 2-hour mark. I just want to say thank you, Nick, for coming on. This has been a lot of fun.
Happy to be on. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you get to talk about. You were definitely the most educated of the drivers in terms of the sim world that I think we've had on. So that was actually really cool to talk to you about, because it's something I'm trying to learn, and then obviously these two weenies I'm with, that's their whole life. So,
Wait, are you going on a My Chemical Romance tour this year?
I wish. If I actually was looking at the because they're doing a Long Live the Black Parade tour this year.
No.
That was nice.
So
Time to pull the skinny jeans out of the closet, baby.
All right, I got them on. But yeah, do you want to shout any what your Instagram, social media? What do you got?
Pretty much everything is at Nick Noback. Facebook is just Nick Noback Racing.
Yeah. Yep. You got any cool sponsors you're working with this year?
That
you can tell us about.
Hopefully. Still finalizing some things, and still have some meetings to do. So
I know how that goes.
Yeah, yep. It's always last minute. You know how it is.
Mm-hmm. It's like, oh yeah, dealing with. It's always a tough time of year, especially when corporate, like, end of the year is in March. So they're like,
yeah,
can you wait till March? And you're like,
it's like, no, my season starts in March.
It's like, yeah. So it's always a challenge dealing with race seasons and the
and if
end
it's
of the year
like
schedules and the
bigger stuff,
cycles,
it's like, yeah, I have to get like a race suit made, and that's 8 weeks production time.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah.
I don't know about 8 weeks at this point. It's usually between 5 to 8 weeks, depending on
you're
the
right,
time
though.
of year. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. Well, like I said, thank you for coming on, man.
Yeah,
it was a lot
happy
of
to be
fun.
in.
Herbie, Brandon, you guys got any competitions coming up?
I have one at the end of this month. I'm gonna lose that too.
Oh yeah, when is the next round of VDC, guys?
March 8th.
March 8th.
March.
I'm like the headliner, or I'm like the opener for the headliner.
That's the weekend after round 1 of Clutch Kickers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So
it's
you plan on
official.
running that?
Is it official?
I'm planning on running that. Yeah.
Cool.
Then
have they said any information about it other than
the schedule and the rule book? I haven't seen anything yet, but
I'm just curious.
That's supposed to be at the end of this month.
Okay, cool.
And then I know Nopi is starting to make a comeback, and they're having an event up at Linear in 2 weeks that I'll be driving at.
All right. Yeah. I forget that it's nice where you guys live, or you live at least.
It was 72 degrees out today for me.
Okay, I get it. All right, it was still in the
pretty much the
mid-20s
same
today.
here.
Okay,
beautiful.
It's cold here. I don't want to work on my car. I don't want to go outside. It's awful here. Okay.
You choose that life, buddy.
Yeah, well, luckily it's cheaper than anything
I
to live
wouldn't
here. Nobody wants to live here, so I'm like, oh, hey, can I have this house for a bag of sticks? Oh yeah, sure. Sick. You just can't do anything for 6 months out of the year, okay? So it's fine,
I don't have any events or competitions for the next couple weeks or so.
You hanging up the skates? Hanging up.
Dude.
Hanging
out. Doing a lot of iRacing. That's what I've been doing. A lot of that. That's fun.
iRacing.
Apparently, he's got a new chassis that he might debut.
Whoa! Stop spoiling it. But yeah, sending emails, doing the business stuff.
Big Z guy.
Big Z. No, no, I'm not going back to that car. That car drove like poop ass. Hell no. That thing drove like a bag of dicks every round, dude. That thing sucked. That thing sucked, dude. I'll say it here.
It probably didn't help that I don't know, every time I drove your Z, the halo on the seat, you couldn't see anything out of the car.
Yeah, that too. For some reason, it had the biggest halos. So you can put an extension on, take it off, and whatever. But yeah, no events, no business events or race events, no esports stuff. But if anyone wants sim racing stuff, go to balanceracing.com. I'll help you out. Shoot us a message, shoot us a text, whatever it may be. So
absolutely.
Yeah. My number's plastered all over the internet. Go find.
All right, guys. Again, thank you for watching the stream. If you guys liked it, be sure to like and subscribe. And until next time, we have Thursday, and we got Jacob Gettin's coming on. So, yeah, big Drift Masters guy now, huh? So should be interesting to talk to him about that. And he actually has media roots that I'm gonna make fun of him for. So I'm excited.